Welcome on in to a Falcons mailbag. Today's show was filmed during our live show, which this week was on Wednesday, but every week it is Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. First question coming in from Daniel Smith. What do you think of going with Malik Nabers at pick number 8? My immediate response is, will he even be there at pick number 8? I mean, the NFL draft is always full of misdirection and surprises. We always have this idea of where guys are going to go based on Mel Kiper's mock, and then the draft rolls around, and it's nothing like those mock drafts. But from everything I'm hearing, if Malik Nabers falls to 8, it may be the biggest surprise of them all. Last year for the LSU Tigers, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, an average of 17.6 yards a reception. I mean, some are saying Malik Nabers may be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. And then some are going so far to say, forget that, he may be the best overall player in this draft. So, do I want to go Malik Nabers at pick 8? I know the bigger need is edge rusher, but if I'm told you could get a good edge rusher in Dallas Turner, or you could get the next Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase out of LSU, I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to pair that with Kirk Cousins and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, Bijan, and sure, the defense may not be there, but the offense is going to put up 35 points. And you may lose 38-35 every once in a while, but I think I'd rather go down that way than not putting up points at all. So if Malik Nabers is there at pick number 8, I think my initial rankings were Rome, then Malik, then Dallas Turner. And maybe I can be convinced to flip-flop Malik Nabers and Rome Odunze, but that's the order I would go with. But I expect Raheem Morris to favor the defense. And there's a good chance you might see the Chargers and the Giants go Nabers, Odunze, and then this never really becomes a question for Atlanta at all. All right, Archangel, next one up on the show. If we trade back with the Vikings, what's the odds of us grabbing number 11 and that 23rd pick also? Not happening. You're not getting both. Let's say, Archangel, you swap 8 and 11. The NFL trade value chart, which isn't an exact science, but it assigns number values to every single pick. And it says if you want to go from 20 to 10, well, the 10th overall pick is worth 1,000 points. And the 20th overall pick is worth 500 points. So you have to make up 500 more points, and then you look at your other picks later in the draft and you add them up bit by bit. So to go from 11 to 8, it wouldn't cost you the 23rd. That would be a massive overpay. It would likely cost, now the Vikings don't have many day 2 picks left after acquiring the 23rd overall pick. So it would probably be a second round pick next year in 2025 to go from 11 to 8. I really doubt Minnesota would give up the 23rd overall pick to go just a few spots up. Jordan Grace, do you think the Falcons can beat big teams like the Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys? Looking at our schedule, we have to face them. Do you think we can actually pull off a win? I mean, I'm going to pull up their schedule right now in terms of just home and away matchups. Home, you got your usual divisional opponents. You also have the NFC East this year, so the Cowboys and Giants, and then the Chiefs, like you mentioned, and the Chargers, Seahawks and Steelers, so Arthur Smith return. Away, you've got your usual opponents in the NFC South. The Broncos on the road. That's never an easy place to travel to out west. The Eagles, the Bucks, and the Vikings. So, do I think the Falcons can beat those teams? Sure. I mean, the Chiefs every single year drop a random game in week 4 or week 5. They have no business losing, right? They lost to the Broncos this year in that stretch in Denver. I remember they lost at home to the Indianapolis Colts. Like, they lost at Indianapolis, was it last year or 2 years ago? So every single year, the Chiefs lose a game. They have no business losing. You just hope you don't play Kansas City too late in the year because that's when they really turn it on. I'd rather play the Eagles late in the year because that's when they tend to collapse a little bit like we saw last year. And the Cowboys play bad teams well and they play good teams poorly. So if Atlanta's a good team next year, there's no reason why they can't hang with Dallas. All right, D-Rob, next one up. Do the Falcons make another big move in free agency? And a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, D-Rob. Another big move, I don't think it'll be, if we want to call big, a contract over $10 million. I don't think there's another $10+ million contract waiting for Atlanta. My suspicion would be the next move would be a Calais Campbell re-signing, maybe a cornerback addition if they want some extra special teams juice, right? Especially with the new kickoff return and punt return rules. Do we see them try and add a permanent returnman, just like how Cordell Patterson got a job in Pittsburgh for that exact role? So I think you might see them target a kickoff return specialist, but that's not going to run you a very big contract. That would be, Patterson got 2 years, $6 million. That's $3 million a year. You could spend very similar money on another return man. Now, today's show is sponsored by GameTime. Spring is here, so we got baseball already. We've got hardwood action heating up, playoff basketball, hockey, all that good stuff. And you should not have to miss any of the action because of ticket prices. With GameTime, you can get killer last-minute deals and all-in prices for all the big events. There is nothing more frustrating than spending time searching for the best ticket prices, which is why you should give GameTime a shot. Download the GameTime app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, what I love about GameTime is you can get a bird's eye view of your seat before you purchase your ticket. That way you don't show up and there's a big surprise of a huge pole right in front of your seat. It's the best place to find last-minute seats. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Travis Taylor, what's going on, dude? Would you bring back Van Jefferson? Why do I feel like Van Jefferson got signed by the Bills? Matt Collins went to the Bills. Did Van Jefferson get signed out? Did he go to the Steelers? I think he went somewhere. Van Jefferson went to the Steelers. Yes. So, impossible. Anthony, Justin Simmons at free agent or trade for Haason Reddick? Which one is more important? Anthony, really good question. I would say Haason Reddick. The reason being is, if you asked 32 GMs, would you rather have a great pass rusher or a great safety? All 32 would say pass rusher. Why do pass rushers get bigger contracts in free agency? Why do they go in the top 10 in the draft more than safeties? Because they have an overall bigger influence on games. So that alone is kind of reason enough for me. But I'll top it off with, you've got Jesse Bates. Like, 50% of your safeties are awesome. There's only 2, and one of them is an all-pro. So even if the other guy is not so good, Jesse Bates is there to at least lift up that room. At the edge rusher spot, man, can you say 50% of them are all pro? No, of course not, right? The best guy is Arnold Ebiketie. So I know that Haason Reddick will probably run you a bigger bill. I think Justin Simmons might be looking at a V1 2-year contract, and it won't be as much as what Reddick's going to get because you got to trade for Haason Reddick. So value that into your decision-making as well. Good point. But for me, I think pass rusher is just that much more important, that it's worth giving up a third-round pick and a contract extension. Whereas, yeah, Simmons and Bates would be 2 awesome safeties. But keep in mind, Jesse Bates was awesome last year. Team won 7 games. Justin Simmons has been awesome his entire career, and all they've done in Denver is lose. So I don't think that's actually going to help win you a lot more. Archangel, who are some sleeper picks that we should have our eyes on for our Falcons to draft onto this team? All right, let me give you one. Let's just say Atlanta goes Dallas Turner at pick number 8. Rome Odunze, Malik Nabers, they're off the board. It's a very simple and easy pick for Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. So now if they want to go get wide receiver in day 2 of the draft, Malachi Corley. He's starting to gain a lot of traction, but he's out of Western Kentucky, and he is the yak monster. He's the next Deebo Samuel. Some call him the yak king. Now, he's got a limited route tree, so that may not be the best, translation to the NFL. If you can't run a lot of routes and defenses know what you do well and they take that away from you, you're kind of a one-trick pony. But that one trick he does it better than anyone else. So if he can continue that trick in the NFL, Malachi Corley is one name to watch for without a doubt. NFL news and mock drafts. Draft Joe Milton in round 6 or 7. This guy's speaking my language. I mean, as a Tennessee alum, I went through the ups and downs of the Joe Milton experience. There were times where he was wildly inaccurate. He overthrew guys. But if you, like I did, watch every second Tennessee football, he had the worst wide receiver core to work with. There were so many drops. He's got the best arm talent. He has the best arm we have really seen enter the draft in quite some time. And I think maybe give him, it's not like a young guy that needs to develop. He's played a lot of football at Michigan, at Tennessee. I don't think he's a guy that needs to sit on the bench or anything. I think he needs to play with real wide receiver talent. And it's a, put up or shut up moment. Like, can you play or can you not? Do you just have a super strong arm or can you do everything else as well? So I'm excited to see where Joe Milton lands in the draft because I think he's going to have some fun moments in the preseason. Diego, next one up. Who's your number one cornerback in the draft? Mine is Terrion Arnold, but there's mixed opinions. Mine's Terrion Arnold as well. He had 5 picks last year for Alabama. He's a shutdown corner, but when you do look his way, he's got great ball skills, and the 5 interceptions represent that. I'm not super high on Nate Wiggins. His big mantra coming into the draft was like he's fast and he's lengthy. And I don't know, not to be weird, but the length, it sounds really weird, really wasn't there at the combine. Wasn't taller or wider or longer arms than some of the other corners. So there's always fast guys every year. It isn't track and field. So I'm not super high on Nate Wiggins. Cooper DeJean is interesting because of the playmaking abilities. He is white, so we can just kind of get that in the open, and he plays corner. So they don't exist. But he is a unicorn. He had a punt return for a touchdown that was erroneously waved off. He's on a defense, or was on a defense, with some other really good talent like Lucas Van Ness, first-round pick. Riley Moss, third-round pick. Cooper DeJean was better than those guys in my eyes. So he's definitely a sneaky one, but he's a white corner. So we just have to acknowledge that. I would go with Terrion Arnold, Diego. Carson, DraftKings has us at 10.5 wins for the season. Over or under? Ooh. Going to go with the over. It's more fun that way. I know you want me to say an answer with, utmost confidence, but 10.5 is a pretty good number by Vegas. I think this team could win 10 to 11 games, so if I'm right on the edge, why not root for an extra win? Isaiah Jones, what role do you see Tyler Allegier playing next season? Curious to see what kind of role, because I don't think the Falcons are going to run the ball nearly as much as they did under Arthur Smith. So if the overall carries are going to go down, let's say the Falcons run the ball 50 less times in 2024 than they did in 2023. Are we going to see a fair percentage decrease for carries in Bijan and Algier? Or is it going to be split 50-50, each get 25 less carries? I'm guessing Algier is going to be the one that gets a lot less usage. So maybe a goal line back to save Bijan from some of the hard big hits. I don't think we're going to see Algier put up big numbers next year because they're not going to run the whole ball a whole lot. So who's losing carries? Not Bijan. I think a lot of the carries are going to get wiped away from Algier. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Always appreciate those of you that hang out with us during our mailbags. You know what? No oldie buddy goodie. If you're still watching, scroll on down. Just type whatever emoji is like the first emoji that pops up under like commonly used. It's always a fun little gauge to see where the pervs are. They got the big eggplant emoji.